Right, so today we are going to talk about a new chapter that is basically number sequences. Okay, number sequences. So before talking about any difficult part or any other thing, let's just talk about the basics of this chapter, that is what exactly a sequence looks like. Okay, so for example, let's say we have 2, 4, 6. Are you guys able to see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and so on. Okay. Then let's say, for instance, I have 1, 4, 7, 10, 13, and so on. Then it could be, okay, मेरे पास I have -1, then 1, then 3, then 5, then 7, and so on. Now, what is happening? If we look at the first sequence, first of all, we need to talk about sequence. So I have a few numbers here. I've written these numbers with a comma. And if I try noticing the pattern, so I have 2, then I have 4. So I've added 2. Okay. I've added 2 to get 4. Then after 4, I have 6. Again, I've added 2. So it looks like we are adding 2 to get the next term. Let's see. I have 6 and the next term would come when I would add 2. And yes, that certainly is the case. So it means that in a sequence, we have some numbers that are written with these commas, and these numbers are basically following some specific sequence. It's not like this that I have 2, 4, then I have 1000, then I have 1. No, the numbers are following some specific pattern, some specific order, and that in this case is that I was adding +2 in previous term to get the next term. Okay, so this is basically a sequence. Okay, so for now we are only talking about what exactly a sequence is. If we study the second sequence, we would be able to notice that I have 1, then I have 4, I've added 3, then I have 7. Certainly, again, I've added 3, and then again, we have added 3, and then again, we have added 3. So, again, this is a sequence, and the sequence is following some specific pattern, and that pattern is this +3. We are adding a number to the previous term in order to get the next term. Okay, so now we know in a sequence we have some numbers, but the numbers are not random. The numbers are basically coming up through a sequence. Okay, let's talk about this third one. So this third one basically has -1, 1, 3, 5, 7. Again, looks like I've added 2 here. Again, I've added 2 here. Again, I've added 2 here. So again, this is a sequence and it is following a specific pattern. Okay. Now this is one type of sequence. Here we are basically just adding a number and we are getting the other one. Okay. ठीक है, ये तो पहली type होगी. Let's talk about one last sequence over here on this side. So let's say we have, sorry, let's say we have 10, 5, 0, -5, -10. Now what's happening? Again, it looks like there is some specific pattern, but this time around, I'm going from 10 to 5 by not adding something, but by subtracting something. Again, I'm going from 5 to 0 by subtracting something. Again, I've subtracted -5, and we all know for the last one, it's -5. So -5 would give you -10, right? Now we are good at numbers. We know -5 would give you -10. Okay. ठीक है. So far so good. We know either we are adding something or we are subtracting something, and this is a sequence. Okay, let's talk about another type of sequence. Again, that would be a sequence, but things would be a bit different there. Okay, let me write that thing. Acha, now let's say okay, I have this sequence. It's the fifth one, and it says 4, then 6, then 10, then 16, and then we will discuss that what exactly is gonna come after these. Okay, okay, acha. So from 4 to 6, I have added 2. And then from 6 to 10, I've added 4. And then from 10 to 16, I've added 6. So what's happening? I've added 2, I've added 4, I've added 6. It means that next time I would be adding 8. Next time I would be adding positive 10. So here the difference is not fixed. I'm not adding the same number, but whatever number I am adding is basically coming through a sequence, right? So for the first one, I had to add 2, then I had to add 4, then 6. And now I do not have any number here, but I know that if the last number was 6, if I've added 6 for the last time, for the next one, I would be adding 8. So this is going to give me 24. And then I've added 2, 4, 6, 8, and then I would be adding 10. So that would give me 24 plus 10, that is 34. So again, this is a sequence. Yes, another type. Yes, I do not have something same here, but again, it is following some pattern, right? There is some pattern. Okay, let's talk about another one. Sixth. Okay, so let's say I have 1, 4, 9, 16, and you guys will tell me कि next number कौन सा होगा. Okay. अच्छा जी, सबसे पहले तो I've added 3 to get 4. Then I've added 5. Right? Then from 9 to 6, I've added 7. This means that we have added 3, 5, 7, and the next number that I would add is going to be positive 9. And the next one is going to be positive 11. So the pattern is
11.
somewhere here. Very good. 3, 5,
I
7,
understand.
9, 11. Very good. Acha, okay, good. So this number is going to be 25. This number is going to be 36, and so on. Right? So both of them, both of these columns basically contain some sort of sequence, but there is a difference in the types. Okay, so this is the formal beginning of this chapter. So you guys only need to think about two types of sequences, and yes, the examiner can give you some other type, but that would be random and we cannot prepare that. You'll get to see what exactly I'm talking about. So we have two types of sequences. This is type 1 that I've written in the first column. This is type 1, and this is type 2. You guys were able to see that we have two different types, and we have two different names for this. Okay, so the first one is basically called the arithmetic sequence. This is basically called the arithmetic sequence. I will just erase these. This is the arithmetic sequence, and this one is basically the quadratic sequence. So we have two different types of sequences. Okay, this is what we need to consider at this point. We have arithmetic sequences and we have quadratic sequences, and so far we know in arithmetic sequences we were adding something same, or we were subtracting something same. However, in quadratic sequences, whatever we were adding had a pattern, but that number was not same. Okay, so these are the two types which we need to understand. Okay, All right, so let me just formally write the definitions over here. In case of arithmetic sequence, yes, please keep your mic muted. It is difference between two consecutive terms is same. Okay, difference between two consecutive terms is fixed slash common. Okay, and that is basically called D. Okay, I'll explain this, do not worry. Common difference. Okay, so far we have only discussed the first type of sequence, that is arithmetic sequence, and it says difference between two consecutive terms is fixed or common. I've written the word common because this small d would be used in some formulas, and the small d is basically called the common difference. What is this d? I'll tell you. I'll be encircling this D for all the sequences. This is my common difference for the first sequence. Difference basically means just pick the second term and subtract it from the first one, right? So 4 minus 2 would give you 2. Then 4 minus 1 would give you 3. Then 1 minus 1 would give you positive 2, right? 1 is the second term, minus comes, then we have minus 1 as the first term, minus into minus would become plus, so we know 1 plus 1 is 2. Then 5 minus 10 is going to give you minus 5. So all these encircled numbers are basically the common differences of these sequences. Okay, so this is the idea in arithmetic sequence. We would be having a common difference. Okay, and this common difference would obviously be common between every two consecutive terms. Okay, this would get better in some time, do not worry. Okay, the next one is basically quadratic sequence. Okay, in in quadratic sequence, difference of the difference is common. I'll tell you. Difference of the difference is common, and this is basically called D2. This is the second difference and this is the first difference. So let me explain this, okay? Difference of the difference. Look at this. 4, 6, 10, 16, 24, 34. This is a sequence. What are the differences? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And if I once again find the difference between these two, positive 2, positive 2, positive 2, and again positive 2. So this means difference of the difference, right? This is your first difference. And then if you will find the difference of the first difference, that is going to be fixed. I repeat, this is my sequence. First of all, I was able to spot a pattern in the difference. That was 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Now, there is some common difference in this pattern, right? And that has to be fixed. This is how we are able to identify a quadratic sequence. If the difference of the difference is fixed, then it is going to be a quadratic sequence. And this D2 is basically this 2, difference of the difference, this 2, and this D1 is basically this number that is coming here directly, like 2, 3, 2, minus 5. Okay, let's talk about the sixth sequence. Now I know it's a quadratic sequence, so first of all, I've taken the first difference, that is 3, 5, 7, 9, 11. That is not fixed. Since that difference is not fixed, that difference is not common, so this certainly means it is not an arithmetic sequence. Okay. Next, I need to find the second difference, that is of positive 2, again positive 2, again positive 2, and again positive 2. So positive 2, positive 2, positive 2, positive 2. What does that imply? This means that the difference of difference is fixed and D2 is again positive 2, and this is a quadratic sequence. Any confusions with this? Please tell me.
No.
No,
Confusion.
ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Ma'am, so in quadratic sequences,
Hmm?
difference of the difference will always be 2, or the value
No, no,
can
no, no.
change?
Obviously, yeah, that's a very good question. The value is going to be different. It could be 2, it could be 3, it could be 5. That is going to be
Okay, ma'am.
different, right? Yes, very good question. And it would be different. Anyone else?
No questions.
Okay. Now we were able to identify that we have two different sequences in the syllabus. That's the arithmetic sequence or the quadratic sequence. We know the difference now. The next thing is you need to be able to find the general term or the nth term. Now what exactly that means, I'll tell you. So for example, let's say this is your sequence. Let me write it down here. Now we are talking about a formula. Let me just state the title and everything, and then we talk about it. General slash nth term formula. So this is the next thing which we need to talk about. Okay. All right. Let me write down the formula. No, let me write down the query first. Now the issue is, for example, I have a sequence 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and so on. Can anyone tell me if it's an arithmetic sequence or arithmetic sequence or quadratic sequence?
Arithmetic.
Okay. What about the other students? Very good, Umayza. Very good, Taha. You
Ma'am,
were
it's
right.
quad.
It's arithmetic. Yes,
Acha,
ma'am, arithmetic.
arithmetic. Okay. I think somebody is saying quadratic, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Acha, okay. I'll tell you. Okay, I'll tell you. You can mute. I'll tell you. Okay. Acha, what's happening? The first term is 1. The next term is 3. And we are adding positive 2 to get the next term. Again, we are adding positive 2 to get the next term. Again, we are adding positive 2 to get the next term. This time around, we are adding the same number to get the next one. So we have a common difference. Now, let's go back to the definition. Difference between two consecutive terms is fixed. That was basically an arithmetic sequence. When the difference between two consecutive terms was fixed, that was an arithmetic sequence. So what is happening? In 1, 3, the difference is of 2. In 3, 5, the difference is of 2. Then 5, 7, the difference is of 2. And again in 7, 9, the difference is of 2. So the difference is fixed. When the difference is fixed, that basically means it is an arithmetic sequence. Okay. So this is basically an arithmetic sequence. Is it okay now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Take care. Acha, I hope that my voice quality and everything is clear, because I have some connectivity problem at my end. So I'm not sure if you guys are,
It's clear.
Okay, perfect. Acha. Now, what if I say that find the 20th term? And if I only give you 2 marks for that question, do you guys think it would be easy? I suppose for 20th term, it would be easy because we'll be adding 2 and all that. But what if the difference is of 7? and I want you guys to find the 40th term. So that is an issue. I cannot go on like this continuously 11 and 13 and 15 and so on till the 40th term. That would take a lot of time. So in order to address this problem, we have this nth term formula that is basically going to help me find the nth term. Now the nth term could be 100, it could be 20th, it could be 50th, or it could be the nth term directly. Okay, let me just state the formula and everything, and then things would get better. The nth term is basically written this way. It's a plus n minus 1 into d, and this is basically paper 4 stuff, so this is important. Okay, what is a? A is basically the first term of the sequence. N is basically the number of terms that you're interested in finding. So for example, if the examiner has asked you to find the 35th term, N is going to be 35. And what is this D? This is something I mentioned in the beginning as well. It is the common difference.
Ma'am,
And
common difference.
very good. And this Tn is basically your nth term. So this is something that we need to understand. And this basically is your nth term formula. Okay, so nth term formula is Tn equals a plus n minus 1 into d. Let's understand this. Okay, let's understand this. So first of all, the question is find the nth term formula for 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. This is the first part of the question. Find the nth term formula for 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Now, some of you would say nth term formula is a formula. So, some of you might write it like this. Tn is equal to a plus n minus 1 into d. Yes, this is the formula for nth term, but it is not specifically for this sequence. In order to make it for this sequence, you're supposed to plug in the value of a. A is the first term of the sequence. What is the first term of my sequence? It's 1. And I need to add d. Okay, what is d? D is the common difference. And what is d? It is positive 2. And again, it's positive 2, right? So d is common difference, is fixed. I've told you guys how to find d. Just pick any pair of numbers, any consecutive pair of numbers in your sequence, and just find their difference. For example, if I consider 7 and 9, I'll do 9 minus 7 in order to find the common difference. If I consider 3 and 5, I would do 5 minus 3 in order to find the common difference. Okay. So a is equal to 1. This is my first term. A is the first term. It's clearly mentioned. A is the first term. And n is going to stay n because the question was about the nth term. And d is the common difference, that is positive 2. So Tn is going to be 1 plus n minus 1 into d, that is 2, and upon simplification this would become 1 plus n multiplied by 2 would make it 2n minus 2, and this would give you 2n minus 1. So this is your nth term formula for this sequence specifically, right? It has to be sequence special, right? Yes, there is this formula that is in general. You need to make it according to your given sequence, okay? So this is how we find out the nth term. So let's say the next part of the question was find the 100th term. In that case, either I can directly plug in 100 in this n and then find the value, or I can just use this t. What is n? This is n. N is 100 in our case. So I'll write down t 100. This means the 100th term. 2 multiplied by, instead of n, I'll be writing down 100, and this is going to give me 199. So 199 is basically the 100th term. Yes, any confusions with this?
No.
Please tell me honestly.
No confusions.
Okay. All right. Very good. Okay. The next one is basically about the quadratic sequence. Just like we have an nth term formula for arithmetic sequence, we do have a formula for quadratic sequence as well. And we will obviously practice more questions once we talk about the past papers. One second. Acha. So one student has query. Let me just address that. Okay. In the last part, the question says find the 100th term. So this is your sequence and you've been asked to find the 100th term. This is the nth term formula, a plus n minus 1 into d. What you can do is just plug in a, that is 1, n, that is 100, d, that is 2, and then find out the answer. Or we have simplified version of the nth term, that is 2n minus 1. N is the number of term that I need to find. Okay, in the first part it was nth, in the second part it says 100th. So I need to plug in 100 and n, and that would give me 2 multiplied by 100 minus 1, so that is 199. Is it okay now? Yes, please tell me, Umaisa, if you were able to understand it now. Okay, all right. This would get better once we talk about more questions. The next one is basically the nth term formula for quadratic sequence. Okay. The nth term is basically equal to a plus n minus 1 into d1 plus d2 divided by 2 into n minus 1 into n minus 2. All right. Let me explain this. No, Maisa, don't worry. It's fine. It would get better. Okay, this is a formula. And once you guys get used to it, it would be on your fingertips. Don't worry about it. A plus n minus 1 into d. This part should be clear because this is the nth term formula for arithmetic sequence as well. And we have this part for the quadratic sequence, d2 by 2 into n minus 1 into n minus 2. Okay, now let me write down an example and then you guys would be able to understand. Just relax. We have 4, 6, 10, 16, and so on. Okay, this is a quadratic sequence. Why? Because this difference is 2, this difference is 4, this difference is 6. So what is d1? This number right here is basically your d1. Okay, d1 is basically the first difference, right? The first difference is 2, the second difference is 4, and then this is basically 6. What is d2? d2 is not 4. d2 is basically the difference of difference. When I'm going from 2 to 4, I'm adding 2. When I'm going from 4 to 6, I'm adding 2. So this number right here is basically my d2, right? And what is a? A is the first term. This is a. This is the first term. And what is n? N is basically the term that we need to find, okay? Now, Let's do this question and then things would get better, okay? So first part of the question says, find the nth term for 4, 6, 10, 16. Now you have been asked to find the nth term and you were able to see that 4, 6, 10, 16 is not a arithmetic sequence. It's not an arithmetic sequence. It is a quadratic sequence. What is the formula for quadratic sequence? Here is the formula for quadratic sequence. So we need A, we need D1, we need D2. I have told you D1 is basically the first difference. That is 2. And D2 is basically the difference of difference. That is fixed, right? It's again 2. So this is D1 and this is D2. And now I need to plug in the values. So T n is equal to A. What is A? Yes, guys, tell me quickly what is A. In my case, A is the first term. That
Ma'am,
is
4.
very good. It's 4 plus n minus 1. We don't know n because we were asked to find nth term into D1. What is D1?
2.
Very good. This is D1, okay? The first difference. It's 2. Very good, Umayza. Then plus D2 by 2. What is D2? D2 is this 2. 2 divided by 2. And then n minus 1 and n minus 2 are going to come as it is. And then you guys are only supposed to simplify it. So how do we simplify this? Let's just do that. It's 4 plus 2n minus 2. This is 1 plus n minus 1 into n minus 2. 2n 4 minus 2 would give you 2. And then n would be multiplied by this n and this would give you n squared. N would be multiplied by this minus 2 and you would get minus 2n. This minus 1 would be multiplied by n and you would get minus n. And this minus 1 would be multiplied by minus 2 and this would give you positive 2. N squared would come here. 2n minus 2n would be cancelled. We have minus n, minus 2 and positive 2 would be cancelled. And 1 second. This 4 would come here. This 4, right? This 4 was here from the beginning. And this is going to come here. And this is going to be the answer. Yes. Any confusions with this? Yes, we have cancelled 2 and 2. Any difficulties with this? Just take a few seconds and try
No,
understanding
ma'am.
it.
No difficulties.
Ma'am, is this the only formula that we can use?
For the quadratic sequence,
Yeah.
nth term, yes, this is the only formula which you can use. I'll tell you, in some books, basically, they've tried linking the arithmetic sequence with quadratic sequence, right? But those formulas are even more complicated. This is not the only formula. This is the only formula if this is your sequence. Obviously, in exam, you can come across different type of sequences. This is the only formula for quadratic sequence, right?
I'm like, I have studied a formula which is like an square plus bn plus c.
Yes, but in that exactly. But in that case, you would have to figure out those B's and C's, and that would make it equally difficult, right? That B and C is, you're right. I agree. That is fine. But in that case, you would have to find that B and C first. So if you're doing that or if you're doing this, both of the formulas are equally difficult. So I would suggest you guys that you should go with this one because, you know, everything is in terms of A, D, N, and this would make it easy, right? You already would be memorizing this part of the formula for arithmetic sequence and you're only supposed to memorize this extra part, so it's fine. It's d2 by 2 n minus 1 into n minus 2, right? So this is the formula. That formula also exists, that you are right, but in that case you would have to find b and c first and that would make it equally difficult. Okay,
Okay.
all right, any other thing?
No questions.
Okay. All right. So one last part, I'm stopping the recording. That is